Have you ever noticed we seem to live in a culture full of single people who act like they're dating, full of dating people who behave like they're married, and full of married people who live like they're single? I think it's time to get things back in order. In my travels around the world to speak at high schools and universities, it seems that whenever I meet a girl, it seems like a third of the girls are dating, a third of the women are not dating, and a third of the women don't even know if they are dating or not dating. I'll say, well, so are you guys together? And she'll say, well, kinda. What do you mean kinda? Well, we went on a date, but we're not dating, but we are seeing each other, but technically it's not official because it's complicated, so I haven't really changed my status, but we are definitely a thing. Okay, like what is a thing? Like a thing is something that grows on the side of your foot like a bunion. Okay, like that's a thing. Like, do you really want to be a thing with a guy? Well, she'll say, well, no, but I don't know what he's thinking. And so to resolve this communication lapse, girls will have slumber parties, in their home or in their dorm. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, they'll stay up analyzing all their potential relationships. Well, one girl will say, well, so are you and Federico like official or not? And the other girl will like, well, I'm not really sure what he's thinking because he said this, but I don't know if he meant that. I mean, look at his text. Could that mean this or that? And so they like outline the sentence. Well, maybe the verb was modifying a prepositional phrase and he was referring to her, not you. And the girls are like ripping their hair out, trying to figure out if they're going to be engaged by next week or not. And what's the guy doing? He's probably playing video games in his mom's basement. And like, he's got no clue that she needs him to be clear, to define the relationship. But he's just not talking. Now, why isn't he talking? Well, that's partly because men aren't really great communicators to begin with, but that's not really our fault, okay? It's God's fault, okay? And here's why. You may have heard this, that women speak about 3 times as many words as guys do, starting at the age of 2. You can see this in a sandbox. The little girls, like, Sally said to Jessica that Jessica let it. And boys aren't doing that. Boys, I mean, they got diggers, they're like, boom, boom, and pretty much it's the same discrepancy of communication abilities even well into adulthood. They say that women speak about 20,000 words a day. An adult man, it's about 7,000 words a day, which means for most of us guys, by lunchtime, we've pretty much hit our quota. In fact, they found this discrepancy doesn't begin, at 2 years old. In fact, they found National Geographic did a study of unborn embryos. They found female unborn embryos at about 6 to 8 weeks of gestation, the mouth begins to move. The male embryo, nothing of the sort is going on. I'm sure if you looked at her little nubby fingers, she's probably getting ready to text in there. Just wait until she can get out to click send. But the fact is, men just aren't great communicators. And it's partly because he might not even be thinking to begin with. In fact, I heard one psychiatrist explain that apparently they did a study of male and female brains. Apparently the female brain has a very high level of neurological activity, 24 hours a day, even when she's sleeping. They found the male brain, on the other hand, will actually go into states of hibernation, okay, while he's awake. And you girls, you know what I'm talking about. Like, these are those moments you've looked at him and he's kind of just like glazed over and you're like, honey, what are you thinking? He's like, hey, nothing. And she's like, no, you can't be thinking nothing. What are you thinking about? He's like, no, I'm thinking about nothingness right now. And she's like, well, that's impossible. Now she's suspicious. What are you not telling me? Well, I'm not telling you nothing. Well, what are you feeling right now? Well, I'm kind of hungry, I guess. But you see what's going on here? He's not thinking, he's not talking. And so she's left to wonder, well, what on earth do I need to do to get this boy more committed to me? Maybe I should offer him that which he is least likely to reject, namely the physical. But the problem with that is this. Girls, what you win a man with is what you keep him with. If you win him with your body, you're going to keep him with your body. But here's the problem. Every woman has a body. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I met a woman who didn't have a body, okay? This is, in a sense, a repeatable asset. If you win him with pleasure, pleasure also is repeatable. He could get that from another girl, he can get it from the internet, he can find it elsewhere. But if you win him with who you are as a human person, you are unrepeatable. And that's why relationships built on a foundation of chastity typically last longer. I'm not making this up. The Economist magazine came out. It's not something I normally read. It's an international bi-weekly business journal, but the cover said the science of sexual abstinence. So I picked it up, and the article says this, headlines, Chastity before marriage may have its uses after all. Who knew? But what happened is they studied more than 2,000 married couples, and they found that the couples who waited the longest to begin having sex, in particular those who waited until they were married, ended up having better communication, had a higher level of sexual quality in the relationship, were more satisfied with the relationship, and had a greater perceived stability of their relationship. And so this isn't some religious argument. The fact is, it just works. That's why I saw one meme on the internet that just said, boyfriends don't get husband privileges. So if you want to make dating and relationships a little bit less complicated, then if you're single, don't act like you're dating. If you're dating, don't pretend like you're married. And if you're married, don't live like you're single.